Shega one lap. Welcome all one more time here on your wonderful show on Sankofa. Looking backwards at the future, tonight is going to be fireworks. I got some serious drumming guys here. You have a chance of actually experiencing them, getting them introducing us to the show. Music has always been part of the African people. When you hear that African drum, something in your spirit goes boom, boom. The boom, boom, yeah. Tonight would rather be very special. Tonight would rather be very special as we are having an interview with the young people of the South African country here. 25 years after liberation on our great... 25 years later after the liberation of South Africa, we still find that our young people are confronted with a challenge, huge challenge. Employment, crime, and education issues, combining their education experiences with the jobs that they are looking for. And above everything else, even in the midst of all these problems, we still hear sound of the song of hope, the song of purpose. As the South African and the African community has not lost the power of the song. And tonight we have with us wonderful guest, Nhongo, all the way from Tsakane. She is actually standing in as an independent political candidate in that part of the world. We'll have a chance of hearing from her exactly what she thinks about this country. And she represents not only some of the South Africans, she represents the greater African community. And with me, the band, what's your name, guys? Womba. Percussions. One more time. Give me a... Over to you, Nhongo. Who is Nhongo and why is she here today? Where are you coming from? Give us a little bit of a background and introduce yourself to the rest of the world. And they would want to know. Wonderful. I'll see some combination of some pansula, some township, the vibe, some cultural Xhosa thing, and yeah, a combination of many things. Tell us, introduce us to the rest of the world. Who is...
Nhongo Solo is a young lady from Tsakane. Grew up in Tsakane, went to a primary school called Michael Zulu Primary School. And I think I got to understand myself when I had to transit from a township school to a suburb school called Nigel High School. And to study the differences there between a township and a suburb, education, environment, setting, treatment, what basically made me to come out, to voice out, to stand for justice, for the rights of the black children, and for better education, even in our township. To say, because firstly, I had a challenge moving from a township school to a suburb school. And I had a battle with my mom because I said to her, I cannot subject myself to study Afrikaans when it was a language that was oppressing our young people. When our young people died in 1976, fighting against that oppressive language.
Here you are, 20 years later, 24 years later, still fighting the same battles of 1976.
Exactly, and those are the things. I kept failing Afrikaans and I didn't care, it didn't bother me. But when I got to grade 11...
You could have Googled it, by the way.
Yes.
The only problem, you cannot Google in an examination, but...
Yes, and you cannot Google when you have a struggle of data, when you are coming from a struggle of our background, and all those challenges. First of all, it was a sacrifice for me to even get there. So you can imagine...
Mom sacrificed.
Exactly.
Just to upgrade her daughter, wishing the best for her child.
Because we have a government that doesn't care about education.
Let me put her on a better platform. So she had sacrificed to get there, only to get there where she had sacrificed and actually find that the infrastructure, the educational institution, the subjects that you're subjected to are actually a frustration again of the same. You had to experience colonization almost from the scratch.
Exactly. To watch your school having a policy that says, as a black child, you're not allowed to color your hair. It must remain black. And you ask yourself, what is the color of white people's hair? Because they have...
And they color every weekend.
Blonde. They color all the time. And you are told as a black child, you're not supposed to wear spandla. Yet the Indians are covering their own faces and their own legs.
Carry their own rituals. And on their rituals, they paint their faces, their hands, and they come to school with their painted hands and their rituals. But an African, you can't put on a skin.
You can't even put a...
What was the reason for that? You also be some timon.
No, I didn't understand.
Because remember, some of these schools also sometimes, let's be frank.
Yes.
We understand, if we say our country is almost 60% Christian, some of the Christian people have become administrators.
True.
And it is often that when an administrator gets into power, he will always want to enforce his or her religious persuasions. So if the church is now being run by a Pentecostal, or is being run by a Methodist, or is being run by a Catholic, whoever is the head, you tend to find that even the prayers and the quality of the pastors who are coming for assemblies, all of them begin to, and is it where the whole school religious system begins, and the natural culture of the school starts being sympathetic towards the leader. So we cannot undermine. I hear exactly what you're saying. This can be found in hospitals, in government offices, and in schools. For example, in my own case, when I started making my journey as a scholar, as a historian, and asking questions on religious platforms, the secular went around pastors. Don't work with him. That man is now a devil. That man no longer believes in Jesus. Now, and the impact of such a statement means that every one of the guys I was doing business with, if they are Christians, and their fathers, who are pastors, have told them that don't do business with this man, it meant that my contracts were actually terminated. My deals that I was doing were actually being... I lost the whole year, almost like 2017, 2018, into 2019. All the conferences I was doing, 2 or 3 of them, my name actually appeared on the poster. And pastors protested that if he is on the conference,
we're not coming.
We are boycotting the whole conference. I said, no, for the peace sake. Remove my name. So I understand exactly. When you're talking about you get to a school and then find that the traditions of that school... So it's not just a matter of his punch.
Yes.
The question is if the one who is now running the school is a Christian. And Christianity has been taught that anyone who puts on this thing, they're worshipping demons. So it's easy for them to write a rule. But apparently those demons only appear to black people and not to Indians and whites. So, and this is the real struggle. And I'm listening and I'm hearing you say 1,000 things. When you just say we could not put this punch, don't hurry me. Because I tend to understand the depth of colonization and socialization of our administrators.
As if that was enough, Baba. When you get to varsity, it becomes worse.
Which university was that?
I went to University of Johannesburg. I went to Wits University, and I also experienced to be at UNISA at some stage, but also Tabombegi African Leadership Institute.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So my first university was University of Johannesburg. And it was shocking. One, I was subjected to cues as a black child that I must go and prove myself that I'm poor, I cannot afford fees, and therefore I need NSFAS. On those cues, you will never even see a white person. And you ask yourself, where are they getting funding from? How
of course, we know their fathers are owning farms, their fathers are owning Ackermans, they're directors in company. They don't even need school. School is just for cosmetics. Even if they fail or they pass, they still have the jobs.
Oh, that's very interesting, because even in your question paper, when you write your name and your surname, it's like the lecturer studies, is this an indigenous name or a white name? Because they don't seem to fail. They always seem to complete their degrees on time. But that's not enough, because when you go to an exam room, you receive a question paper that's written in 2 languages, English and Afrikaans. And you ask yourself, we will still have Afrikaans on question papers to accommodate white people, yet we don't have an indigenous language.
Not even one.
So we have to first
13,
interpret.
12, 11 languages, indigenous languages. And the Africans form less than, the white Afrikaners form less than 3 to 4% of that audience.
Exactly.
And yet that 3-4% dominates 90% of the academic institution, which is true. Universities such as Pretoria, and where you're going to UJ, if you are telling me that 100 students are subjected to 2 papers, one in English and one in Afrikaans, and here you are coming as a black person,
Yes.
you have to filter through
You must first interpret.
your 13 languages on the back here. By the time you come to the English, if you make it there by accident, and you go through the Afrikaans thing by accident, then you are educated. And so it has been actually, I think, for the west part of it, a disadvantaged academic institution.
Yes. And that is why during the fees must fall, one of the demands we were demanding was that we needed decolonized quality free education. But the funny part is, even when young people nowadays seize their struggle and want to stand up and fight for a certain struggle, then we have old people who are politicians wanting to infiltrate the struggle. And you ask yourself...
And frustrated.
Do they live here in our country? Do they understand the depth of the struggle that we are fighting for?
Someone once
Yet they
passed a
want to
comment
divide
that
us.
says old people must stop making decisions for the young people.
Exactly.
Because they won't be there. They say, we're planning the future.
Yes.
We're planning the future. And you hear this man who's planning the future is 80 years old. And you ask him, which future are you planning? And are you going to be there in that future?
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. And those are the plagues we're facing. And the worst part of it is that old people always want to use young people as voting tools. As campaign tools. They always want them to be there to fill the stadiums, to fill certain events. But when it comes to decision making, they should not be part of it. And I ask myself, young people, we are the majority in this country. If we can all unite.
Above 60%, actually.
Exactly. If we can all unite and stand for a particular struggle, we can conquer. But you know how we, even from education, we are taught to compete. That's the colonial system, the schooling system. It's not educating us. It's schooling us to compete, not to have ubuntu to one another, not to appreciate each other's skills and talents and gifts, so that we relate with each other in our own culture, in our own identity. So the schooling system is teaching us from a young age to say that you have to acquire alone, you have to be rich alone, you have to look better alone, so that when you see the next young person, all you do is to compete and floss about what we have.
Did you manage to pass in this system? Did you?
I had to.
You had to pass. How far did you go?
So I completed my degree, and I remember on my graduation.
In which subject?
In politics, philosophy, and economics.
Politics, philosophy, and economics.
Yes,
From
UJ.
University from UJ.
Yes, and
then UNISA.
UNISA, I was excluded. It was the last university.
Okay.
I was excluded because of fees. I was studying law.
Okay.
Then at Wits, I completed a degree in business management.
Business management.
Yes.
Wow. Wow. That's quite a lot of... No, a big drum roll for you. Yay. Not that we idolize, but we are beating the drum for the survival of going through a system. By no ways am I clapping hands that you have a degree. No, that's not the reason I'm rolling the drum. I'm just saying halala to effort, halala to strength, halala to perseverance, halala for the drive that led you to where you are. We'll talk about education another day, but for the resilience that you have demonstrated, that's why I rolled the drum.
No, and I appreciate that. It's true, because the system is so frustrating, and I think that's one of the drive that makes me to remain in a township, because as young people, we get degrees, we get employed by the system, we become exactly,
and we move away from the community.
Exactly.
Give me a drum roll there as we are. Wow. When we come back after the break, come. No, then gum. That's it. When you come back after the break, we get to know a little bit more about Solo and Nhongo. And she gives us a bit about her personal information and why is she in particular actually driving and pushing towards the political circles. And I still want to really investigate thoroughly as to what has changed 25 years later after this, our democracy. After the break.
Hello. The fourth industrial technology era has forcefully changed how every profession has been working for its clients. The world has become smaller than what we used to think. Imagine the ease of talking to a person who is in Australia, China, or Germany while you are in South Africa, as if you're just next door. The ease that globalization and the fourth industrial technology have brought to humanity entail doing business anywhere in the world as long as you have the purpose and the means. It is our expertise as MB Chabangu Incorporated to advise clients immigrating to South Africa on various permits and on opportunities for travelers who intend to sojourn in South Africa for a longer period of time.
Ayé náà ti kéré ju èyí tí a rò lọ nítorí náà ìmọ̀ wa ní ìsìlọ àti òfin àgbáyé ṣe wá ní ọ́fíìsì àkókò lórí àwọn ìṣòwò ilé àti ìgbaniláyé láti gba ìwé ìrìnnà fún iṣẹ́ okòwò.
Ho MB Chabangu Incorporated re ba eletsi dinotari le basebedisi le di-office tša rena kua Pretoria, Johannesburg le Bloemfontein. MB Chabangu Incorporated e humanega ga bonolo go bareki ba rena. Go humana tlhagiso leseding ka botlalo re kgopela le re leletše mogala go 012 341 4187 goba le re ngwalele lengwalo tsebile go admin@chabangu.co.za. MB Chabangu Incorporated mo mathata a humanago tharollo.
Feel the heat.
Hold on. To make it through this journey alive, you're gonna need someone to teach you the ninja way.
Don't just stand there, kill someone! Feel the excitement. Feel the heat with StarSat.
And this is what we used to hear when I was young, you know, sitting around the villages there, and in the night, the songs of the night, you'll be hearing these chants, you know, the milky white ways, and old people, you know, sweating it out in the midst of the night. Rhythm is what kept the community together. And tonight is no different. We are saying in the midst of all these adversities, we are going to still keep on the song going. And just while we were on the break there, my honorable gentleman here was actually raising quite some interesting. Give us your name and then give us your contribution. Hold your microphone for yourself, sir. Yes.
Okay, libito lami mina ngingimandla Nkosi ngwahlatshwa kusibongo.
Hlatshwa, awushayi ithakazelo kahlatshwa.
Ngumhayisi ngingwanye ngumabhengede ngele msexside punside badzibanisa. Ngadalwa mina njengenkomo ngingumsinzi ukuthi milela.
Oh.
Yeah. Kepha ke well my point nje was that unfortunately for as much as we seem to idolize our indigenous knowledge and then vele sinto sithi indlela ibutwa kulabasembili, meaning those who have lived before us they have got so much information, they're full of juice, you know, so that we can in fact milk from them to develop going forward. But you know, being colonized and in fact greed more than anything else is the one that makes us today to start questioning, which in fact isn't it that misleading to say indlela ibuzo kwabaphambili? You know? Yeah. Don't you think which we are misleading ourselves? Because if today we're going to say, let's find information from the youth, and then you're still the same person, Heritage Month, yay, heritage, but indlela usayibuza kwabaphambili. Yes.
The issue, I think, is really quite an important issue. And I think in the midst of that, anyone wants to respond to that? I could have a response to that. Yes, I think maybe yes.
I think this question is very interesting to an extent that it points me back to the question I used to ask when I was a bit younger, to say, apparently Mandela was in jail for 27 years. And when he comes out, the first decision he made was to forgive and give people our land. And I asked myself, for 27 years, was he really thinking that? What was he doing in jail? Was he developing himself? Did he have books to read? Who was he speaking to? Because they should have clear consciousness, knowledge.
And they should have traveled the path.
Understand, exactly. So I think it also comes to that point. Yeah.
Yeah, because what you do when about dialogue, they are not pambili. No, I'm with you. I'm with you.
I'm not saying it is wrong. That's why I highlighted behavior and character and corruption. So we need to zoom into where the problem is, so that we can reduce dialogue and in fact act.
Thank you.
You see, dialogue is confusing.
Too much talking.
Because listen, we use a sophisticated language. You know what we're doing? We're informing them. That's what we're doing. For as much as we can try and use study cases, you go to a high institution of education, you are not going to find our study cases.
Sure.
No, sir. We are not part of it.
So let's reset and think.
Thank you. I think I hear you very well. And give us a little bit more as to what prompted you now to start moving towards a political career in your life, and why did you decide to remain in the location?
Okay, so one of the first reason why I decided to remain in the location is that as young people, by the system, we are taught to graduate, get a house, bond ourselves for 20 years. Imagine to buy a house and pay it for 20 years in your own land. That was a struggle.
Can I play a game with you?
No, be mischievous.
Be mischievous. Okay, how much is a house?
Roughly, a proper house would start from 300,000.
300,000.
Yes.
Beautiful. How much is a GTI?
Oh,
a Golf?
Probably 500,000 or more.
All right. And what is the repayment value of a GTI?
Oh.
No, I will help you.
Yes.
5 years.
Yes.
And how much is the repayment value of a house?
Almost to 20 years.
20 years. And yet a GTI is more expensive than a house. So maybe let's do it. I'm being mischievous.
Yes.
So is the economic structure interested in people having immovable assets, or they're interested in having the community having perishable assets? Because if a car is 500,000 and you are supposed to pay it back in 5 years, you should have finished. But when we give you the same loan for a house, we don't allow you to finish in 5 years. You must finish it in 20 years.
Yes.
Though it is cheaper than the car. Who wants to respond to that? How many does play? You want to respond to that? How quickly now?
Okay, minika madam ngishana ngoba popani sibongo. Singabatswana ekhaya but ke ngafunda isiZulu.
A little bit of English. You have lots of Africans right up into the diaspora.
Oh, yes.
So feel free, mix a little bit,
Okay, I believe it's heritage today, so I must mix the two.
Yeah, please
Mostly
feel
my
free.
own language.
Feel free.
Okay.
But you are talking to the whole of Africa.
But anyway, I think this issue ayihlale kahle because ngibona ngathi people are playing with us. Why the house it's more expensive, or rather it's the same price in the car, but a car can just go outside of this yard and then get smashed. But a house you can keep it for as long as
and it appreciates.
Yes.
Exactly.
And by the time they sell you the house, which is 300,000, when you finally finish paying for it, 20 years later, that house has gone for almost $1 million.
Yeah.
And we look for my interest, before you
and
notice
that if you make it to finish the house, because it can be repossessed.
It depends on a job.
Yes.
I just interrupted you. I just interrupted you when you were mentioning why did you decide to stay in the location. I just thought, let me interrupt you a little bit and give you a correct case study. Because many of our young people don't have financial intelligence. Because we think that success is measured by a Gucci techie, it's measured by nice glasses, it's measured by a penny dropper, which is a GTI, it's measured by the brand and etc. And so when we leave school, our focus is to get all these things that the community has told us. That's what makes it. That's what an educated person looks like.
And please mind the fact that when we leave school, we want to get that because it's school that has taught us that. It's the colonial education. Deliberately did that to us so that we lose our culture, we lose our identity, we lose ourselves, and we begin to satisfy their system, and we pump our money into that so that they continue to make profits. So I had to stay in Township because we are creating a vicious circle where young people don't have anyone to look up to.
They're migrating.
They are migrating at all. So these kids are not looking up to anyone. They don't have any inspiration. They can't see that there are certain different kinds of cultures.
Let me become a political antagonist.
Yes.
Give me a vision for Tsakane.
So
let's get down. Let's get down to business.
So our Bible, Genesis, proves that before a human being was created, everything that a human being needs was created. There was land before a human being was created. There was water before a human being was created. In fact, let's move outside of the Bible for those who don't read it. Our cultural identity, our African identity tells us that we did not have Woolworths, we did not have Spar, Pick and Pay, but our parents, our grandfathers, our forefathers ate. They ate and they lived longer than us. It proves that we did not even have your CTM, your cash build, but they had houses.
And medical insurance and medical aid.
Yes, but they had houses. You know, there was no pharmaceutical industries, but they could heal themselves. And that's the vision, to restore African culture, to restore our African identity.
I'll give a drum roll there. Yeah.
So
we want to restore African culture within a greater cosmopolitan space like Tsakane. What are the challenges in your community right now?
The biggest challenge is that as much as I have a vision for us to establish community gardens, the question...
Community gardens?
Community gardens for food.
Can I ask you a question, guys? Let me be notorious again. Have you noticed, actually I read this somewhere, that Johannesburg is one of the biggest man-made forests in the world? When you're standing on top of Houghton there, and you look at the forest, Johannesburg is actually a forest. But if we are one of the biggest forests, man-made forests in the world, the next question is, why is this forest not populated with fruits?
Yes, exactly.
Bafaka jacaranda, bafaka gum tree. Kuma municipalities, our municipalities, when they say they are doing trees, they are not talking about avocado trees. They are not talking about mango trees. They are not talking about lemon and peach trees and banana trees. You go to our national parks, they plant thorns. Literally, in the national park, and you wonder who eats thorns. You are still going to be watering these trees and watering these plants instead of putting these flowers on the side of the road. Why not make them vegetables?
Yes.
Why not convert all these trees that you want to plant in the community? When I was flying to Namibia the other day, when you left from Johannesburg, it's beautiful, Glenmarie, it's green. Then all of a sudden it becomes dry and brown. Then you know you're in Tembisa.
Oh, yes.
No trees.
No trees.
It's dry. Then there's a little bit of bush there when you are around Midrand. Then it goes dry. You know, off a deep sloot. Then after that, you are in the forests of Exeter. And actually, I was sitting, I asked for a window seat. And I'm looking and I'm saying, the plague people, are they aware the amount of pollution that is in their environment? That one way of cleaning up the air is actually planting more trees. And why would our municipalities not actually consider that if every house had, for example, 10 moringa trees, moringa tree, it's enough to produce vegetables because they can convert the leaves into morojo. The barks of the tree, it's medicine. The leaves of the tree are tea. The leaves of the tree, you can make them into pap, into powders, into ointments, and the seeds of the trees make oils, make other 98 diseases that a moringa tree can heal. So imagine if you could plant 10 moringa tree in your own yard. Then you eat for inside. The rest of the plants and the produce from there, you can begin to create businesses. Now you have produced the extras, make it the way into the streets, and you're going to create sustainable. You never find a child in Venda stealing avocados.
Exactly, because they
stealing mangoes, stealing orange. Why? Because every household has an avocado tree, and the excess of those avocados, they make their ways to Chiauru, and they make their ways to Johannesburg market. Cars go to vendor, fill up with avocados, and they come and sell them in Johannesburg. Are we saying that the amount of water we are spending in Johannesburg watering thorn trees can actually not be used to be watering fruit trees? So tell me your vision for Tsakani. We're not talking agriculture. I mean, we're here, we're sharing ideas.
Yes.
Who eats flowers?
Exactly.
For crying out loud. You see these municipality trucks for watering flowers in town. Who eats flowers? And these young girls of our days who want to be bought flowers. Give me a vision for Tsakani.
So that's the first.
Gardens.
Gardens.
For Tsakani.
That each and every area in my ward must have a community garden. People must be able to walk to that community garden and be able to take any kind of vegetable and fruit so that they can eat, and we at least try to deal with poverty and starvation. Secondly, God gave us water for free. Yet in schools, people always don't have water in our township schools. You see teachers knocking off at 12. You ask why? No, there was no water. Yet we have water underground. So we must install boreholes in almost every schools so that we have our kids don't get distracted. Water was given for free. But also we must be able to drink clean water because right now the system is already dealing with us by not giving us clean water. If you check the parliamentarians, they all have their bottle of water, still water, because they don't drink from the tap because they know they even forget to service those
And
taps.
the Minister of Water is in Parliament.
Yes.
And parliamentarians can't trust their water. I've never trusted a headmaster who says he's running a school, but his children are not in that school.
Exactly.
Ingani zake zisema kitchen. Yena ngu headmaster kela is supposed to be managing other people's kids. But if you're a good teacher, why would you not trust yourself with your own children?
Yes. Land. I'm encouraging young people that we should not be excited about RDP houses. Again, question of wisdom. Let's get understanding how old people were building their own houses. We appreciate technology, but we don't want to subject ourselves to bonds for 20 years, but we also don't want to subject ourselves to RDP houses from the so-called democracy. Let's build our own houses. Your yard must be big. You must have enough sufficient room. You must also have space for your own garden. Your kids must be able to play.
Can I be notorious again?
Go ahead.
When you are driving from Johannesburg to Bloemfontein, just outside Soweto, I think around Faramia, just around Orange Farm, they invaded some farms there. There's some shacks that have moved into the streets, into the farms there. The painful thing, I'm from Zimbabwe. Guess what was painful?
The reflection.
You have like 5 to 6 kilometers of land. And the black people are still invading
This much.
Mukuku size of land. Where as long as I can just put my 2 meters by 3 meters. So the black person has not yet started thinking that you can use land for agriculture.
Exactly.
And for me to plant things, I can't plant them in a veranda of a 2 meters by 3 meters. The black man has not yet started thinking about industry. If I want to start running chickens and produce chickens, you can't put chickens on a 2 meters by 3 meters. The black person is not started thinking in terms of maximizing the capacity of the land itself. And for us to say, let's invade land, and we're not invading land, we're invading Mukuku land. Because the mentality we're having when it comes to possessing land, you think, hey, I also need my mkuku. So immediately you have an opportunity of getting land. You are not thinking, if I was the one to invade land, need anyone who is within the reach of my stone. If it's closer to my sheki, I'll knock you off. Because I need space to the distance that I can throw stones. Then I know with that piece of land, I can keep 2-4 chickens, I can keep a goat, I can do something else. So you may find that in as much as you're talking about land, the community that is coming from a deprived sense of land, when you give them an opportunity to access land, they are not thinking of anything except accommodation.
True. And these are the same voters who are supposed to vote for you currently they belong in certain political parties who don't conscientize them about these things, who actually encourage them to go and invade land with checks. And yet they call themselves government in waiting. So those are the challenges that you have to deal with, and also how they think as young people. Because, for example, there was a time when we started a garden. You call young people, come, let's cultivate, let's do it. They're lazy to come. But when they want to strike, they will throw stones on the road. See, these are the same people who have energy to carry big stones to the road so that cars don't move. So you understand that they have the capacity to do it, but they are mentally colonized, they are mentally suppressed. They don't see themselves liberated.
Before we go out for the break, there are 3 estates that you have, according to Farmers of Thought, your president is Maponga J. The first estate that you have is the estate between your 2 ears. That's your mind. And it grows grass on it, by the way. The second estate is the estate between your legs. It also grows grass. That's reproduction. Who is planting in that field? The second estate, the third estate is the estate underneath your feet. That is your land. It is difficult to give people land underneath their feet when they don't have land between their legs, controlling their own reproduction and having access to the land between their 2 ears. And he who plants in your land has permission to harvest from it. The question is, who is planting
in your land
on your farm? After the break.
Tech Talk brought to you by Tamani Technologies and Systems. Tamani Technologies and Systems takes leadership in 4th Industrial Revolution. The whole world is facing a transformation. The revolution will be developed into the following stages: digitization, cyber security, Internet of Things, managed services, document management, and business applications. We provide business transformation and ICT solutions with presence in 13 African countries and 2 European countries. We are your leading partner in integrated platform providers, innovation leaders, standalone products, and innovation pace setters. Tamani Technologies and Systems, delivering value across continents.
Experience the extraordinary.
Feeling is there that you're doing something special.
Have you lost it? Move!
Stop being so dramatic, Mira.
Challenge your ordinary.
Why don't you start a dance class?
Experience the extraordinary with StarSat.
Zero. so. Wow, the music goes on and on. It's getting warmed up here in the studio. And in my olden days, man, people think that I'm just faking this thing. I'm just faking this thing. Man, I'm just faking. Let's try just something. Let me just show them one or two tricks here, man. I didn't grow up in town with the silver spoon in my mouth. Come on, guys, let's go. We cannot call out the spirits in this room here. Otherwise, we end up doing other things and somewhere there, yeah. We're talking to you about Tsakane and etc. Your vision for the greater Tsakane. What would be your message to encourage the young people to join the greater initiative that you're doing out there? And let me just hear from you, maybe just a few little punches. If you're supposed to be running for the council there as an independent candidate, promise the people of Tsakane, what is it that you're going to do differently? Yes. And how do you want them to view you? And what kind of support are you looking from them?
Fran Fanon says, each generation must discover its mission, fulfill it or betray it. And currently, as young people of Tsakane, we need to come together and understand that as the generation, we need to come together and fulfill our mission. One of the biggest things that we are doing right now is we are manufacturing our own electricity. We are tired of being subjected to the electricity of the municipality and ESCOM.
You're manufacturing your own?
Our own electricity, using natural resources, using what we have. Currently, we have a serious struggle of young people indulging drugs, and all of that. And because they have this ability to collect all these rubbish things, we are saying to them...
And make chemicals.
And make, yes.
Serious stuff. Those guys are serious engineers,
yes, yeah? Yes, exactly.
I hear they use ARVs, battery acid, Retex, and what? Plasma powder from electricity. Hey, that's serious. Some serious science goes in there.
They have a serious skill. So we are saying they must continue to collect those rubbish and all of that. But this time around, instead of taking them to a scrapyard to get money, they must bring them to us. So we're going to have a space there and we'll manufacture electricity together. That's very important.
If you had a chance of talking to the Department of Education in one sentence, what would you be telling them?
Totally revolutionize education, make one uniform education, scrap this private education, and let's indigenize our own education. Let's bring in indigenous languages to our own education, skill to our own education. What do we do now with all the subjects that are irrelevant, not talking about the things that we need, relevant things? I mean, you go out of matric, you only have a matric certificate.
And you know how many legs does a grasshopper have?
Exactly. You don't even have simple things like a driver's license for logistics. You don't even have simple
Loud
things
and clear.
like
one word for the Department of Arts and Culture.
You know, for Department of Arts and Culture, bring our African culture back. Why don't we have music? Why don't we have arts? Why don't we have drum? Why don't we have design? In our own, why don't we design our own clothes? Why do we buy?
Why don't we have our own beaters?
Exactly.
You know, one word: Department of Health.
Hey, wow, that one I'm gonna speak for a very long time.
I said one sentence. Come on, punch, just punch, boom.
Stop teaching us grandpa and Dispring and all of that. Bring our indigenous healing system into schools. We want to drink our own trees and our own grass. God gave us before we were even created. Why do we subject ourselves to addictive pills that now we call them grandpas? And that is why we even have problems of drug addictions and It's because the pharmaceutical industry has dealt with us. So we are saying let's degenerate that by bringing health education into schools and proper health education.
Powerful, powerful. Department of Environmental Affairs? Land back.
Land back.
And Department of Land.
Teach us how to build. Teach us how to plant. Teach us how to build proper infrastructures for even our sport facilities. Teach us how to farm our own animals. We know that somewhere a white man came and just fenced our chickens and our buffaloes and our rhinos. And today we are being criminalized. We are told we are rhino pouches by white men in court, in Dutch.
In closing, because I want to talk to these guys. In closing, I want you to give a promise to our honorable president and tell him that you are coming. What must he expect when you are in parliament?
God says to Jeremiah, I knew you before you were even born, and I appointed you and ordained you to be prophet over nations. The first thing Jeremiah said, God, but I'm only young, and which is what young people are saying. And today I'm reminding them that God then responded, said, do not say that we are young, because I am with you. Go out there, speak what I command you to speak. Go wherever I command you to go. Then he says, do not be afraid of them, because he knows they will intimidate you. Do not be afraid of them, but go and uproot.
So, President, you are ready for him?
No, we are ready for the entire.
I am. But Nina, on your side here, tell us a bit about Jem. Give us about yourselves. You have the last few moments that we have. Tell us who you are, your names, and you are next.
Okay, minika malami binjobe singishile ngushana ngisibongo ngokakokwane ngivela eSoweto. Yes. So I've been an artist since about 2009. I started as a visual artist, but along the way I came across to this beautiful instrument.
And the instrument found you.
And then the instruments found me, and it married me, and I married to it. And then we grew up together. Since then up to now, I've been teaching young kids in different crèches, Ekasi. And then also we had a project with the guys. We called ourselves Wamba Wamba Percussion Ensemble. Yes. So we've been running programs about the drumming, how to fix the drum, which it's a skill for our heritage.
For industry. Because you are talking education, for example.
Yes.
And if we can actually say we're going to introduce indigenous African instruments. Now here we are. To me, this is a network where they can produce the instruments, and we can implement them and institute them in our own educational system.
Exactly.
That's a win-win. You need to share numbers after this. So in some of the schools that want to take music seriously, I think you have your teachers here on the platform. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
And the last gentleman. Oh
yeah, Miss. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to just introduce myself. I will tell you more, just not much, because I think the guys have spoken more about our production that we're doing or what we are busy with. But I am actually a tutor in both arts department, like in music. I did that. I did study music in Northwest. That's where I come from, actually. And then I got my certificate in music from Trinity College of London.
B flat major, C sharp flat, F, B, D minor, chord 7, 15.
Yes, they got it right. And then from there, I also joined Footprint 2003. But I started studying from 1995. So I've been in this industry for some time, And then I also facilitated music in UJ for 3 years, from 2014 until 2017. I think so. Yes, until I joined also the field of UNISA. I'm also doing my PGCE there.
PhD?
PGCE.
PGCE.
Yes, because now our government has sort of introduced the arts education into the universities, into schools. So yes, I'm busy with that now. I'm hoping to finish it up.
Wow, wow, a big hand for the gentleman. Thank you very much for you said the group is called? Womba. Let's have a last womba just for 2 minutes. I'll ask you to womba for us. And I'm very grateful and thankful for the time that our honorable sister has come, Solo. Any parting shot for your audience out there?
No, I'm honored for the time, Joshua Maponga, and I'm hoping we'll continue to have these conversations.
We will talk. I will call you back again. Maybe bring back some of the youth that you're working with there, and let's showcase some of the stuff that you're doing. Take us some pictures of what you're doing, and let's share your success story. We wish you all the best in your endeavor as an independent candidate in that part. Has almost got a village in the township of Tsakane, and we wish the youth can rally themselves. But don't worry about what people say. Your works will talk for you. So just do what you know and do what you can do best.
And let's just remind people that local elections have got nothing to do with the political party. They are all about community development, community leadership. And you must always remember that every time when you have a struggle and you go somewhere and then you must remember that person when it comes to local elections.
Those are the true leaders.
True.
Thank you very much for passing. Let's have just 2 minutes, then I'll do my final remarks. Let's have a womba. Kuduka. Maponga J. The program is called Sankofa here on Galaxy Universal Network. My name is Maponga J. Chigarabo Garamashamba Huda Chirana Wanji Wo. Makuma Mwana Musende Washana Chirana Wanji. Tizwana Chigarama Matanda Novora. Vana mwise mchena. Tizwana Wavuzi Jena. Chigaramboko. Chibwechiteza Chinutezera Rukuru and Pedro Tambanacho. Wachuri Mangura Navafuriwayo. Until we see you again. Don't do what I would do, but if you decide to do it better. Do it better.